Non mi Gesù.
We're really drunk right now. We're in Milton, Wisconsin, and this is Ethan. Ethan's a good friend of mine, and Ethan was in a meeting of ours a while back, and he got really whacked up. We're talking about going out into the streets and going to Walmart, and Ethan. He just took this as a literal mandate that he could go into Walmart and heal the sick, raise the dead, cast out devils. So he goes into Walmart, rips a lady out of a wheelchair, and led about 30 people to Jesus. So why don't you tell a little bit about what happened there, Ethan?
Well, we're at a meeting, and John Crowder is telling us about how we can get access to the kingdom no matter where we can go. And so we came back to the church a few weeks later, and I just laid down on the floor, and we were just soaking and soaking and soaking, and I just got up off the floor with two buddies. We said, let's go to Walmart, man. So we all drove to Walmart, local Walmart, super Walmart's 24/7. Show up at the place, we're smashed. Walk into the place, and we did a little bit of ministry, and then we walked out. After we walked out, I was driving home, and we felt really good about the next. We had 2-3 people that converted, and then we were driving home. Right as I was getting past a jail in the town, God spoke audibly in my car and says, go back to Walmart.
Wow.
I was like, okay. So I'm starting to sober up and said, okay, God, if I'm doing this, you got to get me a little more juiced. So I get right in the Walmart. I walk in, and I said, all right, God, what do you want to do? And he says, what do you want to do? I said, well, I've never seen, I've never heard, I don't know anybody that's got anybody out of a wheelchair. And I was like, I want to do that.
Uh-huh.
So he playfully looks at me, heard in my voice and the head, and he says,
Go look for it.
I'm like, so all right. So I started running down the aisle, like wobbling down the aisles, because I'm starting to really.
So you were shopping drunk, basically. So he'd already led 2 or 3 people to the Lord, but that wasn't good enough. So he had to go back for a little bit more, a few more fishies.
So I'm in the automotive section in the way back corner of the place.
Yeah.
About 11:30 at night, and I just all of a sudden dropped to my knees, and I look up, and there's this lady in the wheelchair, and I was like, whoa.
There's your wheelchair victim.
I found my your
playmate.
I asked her, she was a Christian and anything, and she went to a local church. And 2 years prior, she got in a car accident where her seatbelt broke and her sternum hit the steering wheel, broke everything. So it's all wired, and she lost feeling, everything from the belly button down.
So she was totally paralyzed from the waist down.
She couldn't even feel it. So all the nerves are gone too. So I'm like, okay. So I said, well, I'm at a local church, gave a little bit about me. I didn't give my name at all. And I said, I just want to pray over you. So I started praying, and I started going quiet first, and then all of a sudden, God, it was like the spirit of remembrance that it says in Matthew chapter 5 came to me. And all of a sudden, I had scriptures I've never read before, that I've read maybe once prior. All of a sudden, coming to my head, and I started praying them out loud, and Isaiah, the scriptures in Isaiah, and I was talking about every single miracle God did with healing. It came to me, and I started speaking it, and it's boldly. And all of a sudden,
because the wine makes you bold. So you wouldn't do something like this sober. So you knew you had to get a little more whacked up into Jesus sauce, right? Let me ask you this before you finish the story here, Ethan. How old are you? And how old were you at the time?
I was 18.
18. All right. And how much ministry training had you had? How many seminaries had you been to?
I grew up in a church, but it didn't mean anything.
Yeah. All right, so she's paralyzed from the waist down. You're quoting some scriptures over, and what happened there?
And then people heard me.
Yeah.
So they started gathering around, and then also
in Walmart, you had a meeting in Walmart, spontaneous revival meeting in Walmart, yeah, on the automotive aisle.
And then I started speaking it, and then all of a sudden her toes started wiggling.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Pretty good for a paralyzed person.
So I'm freaking out about toes, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden she describes it as her legs were dipped in hot liquid metal. That's what she
Shaka.
Well, I was like, very descriptive.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I started praying, and all of a sudden her legs, because the apathy, from not walking for 2 years, all of a sudden her legs started growing.
Wow.
And you could see it, and all of a sudden, like, you could hear muscle and tissue.
Yeah.
And then she started describing all the muscles and the bones that it was touching, and it was going up her legs. And I just started pulling, started speaking in tongues and everything. And might as well, all these people around me are just like, no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, she said she could feel everything fusing in her spine.
She could feel it, yeah.
Feel it. And so I looked at her and I said, well, do you think you can get out of the wheelchair? And she goes, I said, do you believe you can? She goes, yeah, I can believe. I said, because I got the faith. And I grabbed her hand, I pulled her up. And the whole audience looked, and she takes 2 steps.
Shakaba.
Wobbly, and then she bolts down the aisle. And she starts dancing, and she's screaming and hollering. And
dancing through Wal-Mart. So what did the crowd do, Ethan?
So the crowd's like, they start jumping at me, and I'm like, are you a prophet? Are you a preacher? Are you a minister? What are you? And I said, I'm none of these, because God didn't tell me who I am yet. I said, I'm just a man of God. I just sat down and listened, got the secret place, and God told me that he wanted me to go here. I came here. He asked me what I wanted. I asked what I wanted, and I got it. And I said, this is my gift to me, that I could perform my very first miracle. And it happened to be something completely extraordinary.
Wow. So you prayed with these people, and you just started leading them to the Lord.
And none of them, not one of them, were Christians or even been to church.
Wow.
40 people.
40 people. 40 people. Yeah.
So
you snatch one lady out of a wheelchair, and you have 40 people give their lives to Jesus. Pretty good whack, pretty good fruit off of that.
Yeah.
So let me just ask you this, Ethan, before we go. We only have a set little time we can do on these YouTube videos, but a lot of people out there, they question, what is the fruit of this drunkenness? Is this wine? How fruitful is this wine? Well, I would say, how fruitful is your sobriety, my friend? Because this is a wine of boldness. This is a supernatural wine. This is a wine that releases harvest in the nations. This is a wild ox glory. It's going to be a messy revival. It's going to happen in Wal-Mart. It's going to happen in the 7-Eleven, but you're going to see harvest. And I want to pray an impartation, because I think there's a lot of people out here, maybe you're in high school, maybe you're 16, 17 years old, maybe you're 12 years old, maybe you've been a Christian and been in church your whole life, but you've never seen a miracle in your whole life. Let me tell you, this was the first time Ethan had ever seen anything like this, but he had such a lot of fruit right off the back of it. Now people are getting him in churches and all over just because they want to hear from his faith, and all he wanted to do was get drunk and go shop at Walmart. This is for every believer. Ethan's one of this nameless, faceless generation. You're going to see people just running out in the marketplace, seeing harvest. Let's just pray that harvest glory on people, that new wine, that wine of boldness, that wine that brings in the harvest, just to fall on people right now as they watch, Ethan. Right. Yeah, go for it. Let's pray.
Father, open up their hearts.
Yeah.
Open up their ears. Open up their minds. Unlock those mysteries. And Father, I pray that your glory will saturate them, pure, cell for cell, tissue for tissue, and put them through their own mindset and let them realize what they can do in your glory.
That's right. That's right.
No fear.
Release that drunken impartation, that wine of boldness, that you're not going to settle with a couple of souls. You're not going to settle for a dozen souls. You're going to go for as many as you can. And you're just going to go shopping drunk. You're going to get whacked right off your rocker, less thinking, more drinking, and you're going to move into the harvest. We just release a harvest glory in Jesus' name. God bless you. My new album, Disco Mystic, has just been released. I take some of the church's greatest mystics and I read some of their meditations on the wine cellar of Song of Solomon. It's a really trippy album. I'd encourage you to go to our website, thenewmystics.com. You can click on our music page and click on Disco Mystica. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you can actually order a digital download right away. You can begin listening, trancing out immediately. Or if you'd prefer, you can order a hard copy of the album and it will be shipped to your address. So tap into heaven and enjoy. Those of you who really want to go deeper, I would encourage you to come to one of our mystical schools this June. We're going to have one in Atlanta, Georgia, and the other in Orlando, Florida. These are going to be 3-day intensive courses where I'm going to sit down with you and really have a lot of hands-on activation and impartation, learn to operate in the supernatural, accessing and manifesting the glory realm, how to operate in signs, wonders, miracles, engage the seer realm, access the open heavens that we all have as believers. And we're going to talk a lot about trance as
raptures, the ecstasies of God. There's so many topics that we're going to cover in these 3 days. We're just going to have hours of deep training. So check out our website, find out more, and I hope to see you there.
Hey, I know you're all whacked up, but time's running out. Just sign up for the new Ecstatics. Coming up quick. Get off the floor. Crawl over to your computer. Sign up now.
www.eventbrite.com.
You'll find it on the website, whatever it is. Just join up. It's going to be fun. Me, Ben Dunn, Georgian, Winnie Benoff, Santa Cruz.